I'm joined here now with Lakeland NDP candidate Desiree Bissonnette. So, what inspired you to run in this election and what is your platform?
I decided to throw my name in for a lot of different reasons. But really what my platform is and what I personally believe in kind of boils down to three words, and that's people over profit. I've been a worker for a really long time. I started my first job when I was 14 and I'm 26 now. And so I've been in the workforce for 12 years. And I noticed throughout my adult life that I never can really get ahead. It's really difficult. And especially with, working minimum wage jobs, it just was something I noticed as a pattern is no matter what I was doing and no matter how well I was getting paid, whether I was in management or anything like that, I was having a really hard time getting ahead and, creating savings. I'm a renter, so, couldn't buy a house or anything like that. And so that was one of the things that kind of motivated me and that I really value is, protecting working class people and giving us a voice. Another thing that's really passionate to me and something that I really, really want to focus on is helping people who are living with disabilities. In Canada, we pretty much legislate people with disabilities into living in poverty. And in a G7 country where, we're one of the richest countries in the world, it's just unacceptable. And it's time that we change that. And so one of the things that I'm running on is to help people who are living with disabilities by listening to them and advocating for them and getting them the supports that they need. And another really big thing for me is I am an environmentalist through and through. And I understand that there's, the energy sector, especially in rural Alberta, is really focused on the oil field. And my spouse is in oil field. And so part of my income relies on that. And I totally understand the frustration of being an oil field dependent family and having, jobs are constantly a question on whether or not you're going to be keeping them. And it's really unfortunate that our workers in oil fields are considered temporary or seasonal workers because when you get laid off, you don't get severance. And I've been in that situation where my spouse has lost his job and we were trying to figure out how we were going to put food on our table. And so those are some of the things that I'm really focused on is focusing our government on helping people instead of just profiteering for companies. We give all these subsidies to the oil field, but workers don't see that, just the people who are in charge. And so, yeah, that's really what I'm running on is to protect people and to uplift all people, no matter what our ability is or, our jobs. We all deserve to live in dignity and we all deserve human rights. We deserve housing and food, and we deserve to live fulfilling lives where we aren't worried about how we're going to eat or how we're going to keep a roof over our heads.
And what have you been hearing from the constituents in your riding?
People are concerned about a lot of the same things. I think affordability is kind of on everybody's mind, especially since the pandemic. Most people struggled during the pandemic, whether that was they were losing hours at work or they lost their jobs or, they had to take sick time away due to exposure or a positive case. So affordability is a huge one that people talk about. And that's something that, it resonates a lot with me because I've been there. And at the very beginning of this pandemic, I was living paycheck to paycheck. And the first week of March was probably one of the hardest of my life. And so, I understand that. And there's a lot of that conversation around affordability and uncertainty. People are really, really concerned about, recovering from the pandemic and what that looks like. And especially as we're still going through another wave of the pandemic, what that's going to look like for normal people who don't have savings and normal people who don't have, an infinite access to money. Like we're afraid. And I know that a lot of people are feeling that. And that's something that has been a huge conversation. Also, agriculture has been a really big one, which is super. I love talking about agriculture. I'm really interested in it. It's something that's been kind of a new thing for me to learn about. And it's been very enjoyable. And so talking to people about agriculture and just support there has been really, really interesting as well.
And what is your plan for a meeting with constituents throughout the rest of the campaign?
So we're doing lots of door knocking. I really want to get out to as many communities as I can. This riding is so big, and so it's definitely hard. There's so many little communities that unfortunately I don't think I'll have quite enough time to see before election day. But it's something I want to continue on for as well.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Desiree.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.